Hi, I'm Cierra Nelson, and I'm going to talk a little bit about riding a horse aggressively up into the turn and trying to ride them right without over riding them. I feel like a lot of horses that are push style, we might tend to override, and we try to push them so hard up into the turn, and then we end up interfering with how they want to turn and where they want to start their turn. For me personally, I get along better with a horse that is push style, better than a horse that's a free runner. Growing up, I never really got to ride that horse that was just the free runner. My parents made sure that they put me on all different sorts of styles of horses, but a free runner was just not something that was ever my favorite. I didn't feel like I got to ride them enough, and I didn't feel like I got to do anything. I just feel like I sat there. And so now here I am. I'm 26, and I'll still pick the push style horse that you might need to carry a stinger bat on to get them up into the turn versus the horse that I just get to sit back and relax and then kind of enjoy my job. I personally like to keep my horse a little more square running up into the turn. So if that means not shifting my body weight one way or another way, but if I'm riding up into my barrel, and I want to stay as square as I possibly can when I ask them to turn, so that I don't ask them to turn too early. Something I feel like happens a lot with those horses that are so push style is we'll push them to a point, and sometimes that point is we quit right here. Well, then a horse tries to cut off his pocket, and then you end up over here because you sat down too early and your horse had to compensate because it's honest and it steps off the back side of the barrel, versus if I would have stayed square longer and rode my horse up into the hole. And me personally, like when I say up into the hole, I want to try to ride them until I'm in a comfort or like a sweet spot. And for me, my sweet spot is when my leg gets even with this side of the barrel, and then when my leg is still even with this side of the barrel. For me, that's my comfort zone, and that's my goal every time I make a run, is to ride a horse up to that point on each barrel. So if I'm riding up into it, I'm here, I've stayed square, I've kicked and driven with my body to a point that I can ask them to turn, and they're able to make their turn as easy as they can for them to go on to the next barrel. And I grew up on the racetrack, and you know, jockeys can't necessarily kick when their legs are up here with them, so you'll see a lot of jockeys ride more with their body and with their hands, and so they'll ask them to run up into the hole with their body like this, or you'll see them kind of lean forward a little bit more than leaned back just kicking, because you know, you can't really do that when you're just running a straightaway. And it made me think, because not all horses you can get up over and just drive with your legs and kick and whip and spur and expect to be successful, because they don't react well to that type of aggressiveness. They react better to jockeying them. Last year I had a Woodbridge mare, or 2 years ago I guess, that, yeah, she was super push style, she was very turny, she wanted to just crawl around her turns, but it was the harder I kicked and drove and rode her aggressive with my body, the harder she wanted to turn and to anticipate the turn. And so I figured out with her, I was better off just riding her with my body and asking her to go forward than I was just kind of sitting back and just kicking. And for me, that's the fine line between overriding one and underriding one. It just has to do with kind of your body position and your saddle, whether it be a little bit forward like this, or whether it be just a little bit straighter and you're kicking. For me, I feel like more often than not when I see horses be overridden, I feel like it comes from a straighter body that's kicking, asking them to go like that, than it is from one jockeying like this. Because when you're up with your horse going into your turn like this, if I feel like maybe we're going just a little bit too hot into it, I'm up with them well enough that I can ask them to back off just as easy as I can ask them to go forward, all with body position.